Good evening, everybody. Well, what a wonderful start to the evening. I'm sure, like me, you're already impressed by the enthusiasm and determination of Lorraine and Kristen. As for me, although a very long time ago now, I can still vividly recall first-year French classes in secondary school. Our lessons were based on an audiovisual program, Voix et Images de France, featuring the Thibault family who lived at Place d'Italie in Paris. Our French teacher was truly inspirational, and she it was who gave us our first introduction to a different culture, a different world, that of La Belle France. I became entranced with all things French. I was also privileged to have parents who were convinced of the benefits of language learning, and so I was packed off on my own at the age of just 13 to spend part of my summer holidays with a large French family. That stay and subsequent exchanges with my French friend opened up a new world, a new environment, and I was hooked. Not surprisingly, I opted to study German when the opportunity arose the following year. And I dare say that many other language professionals have similar stories to tell about how they embarked on their careers. Looking back now over the years of living, loving and working with languages, longer than I care to remember, I'm convinced of the importance of a system that makes language learning engaging, interesting, exciting and valuable. But learning a language, like learning any other skill, requires much effort and does not happen overnight. Therefore, fundamental to this learning process are teachers who inspire their students and an environment which encourages them to appreciate the value and benefits of their skills now and in the future. Once I finished my language studies in UCC, I lived and worked abroad for many years. It was in Paris, as a recent recruit of Tourism Ireland, that I had my first foray into the world of interpreting. On the occasion of the World Tourism Fair, we received the official visit of a junior minister who was to make a speech. No one had thought of hiring an interpreter, and I was elected to carry out the task. I must confess that the minister's delivery was singularly uninspiring. But I, full of youthful enthusiasm, was determined to get a positive message across to the French audience. I believe that this was my first tangible realization of the importance and the power of being able to convey the message from one audience to another language. In 1982, in post-Franco Spain, I joined a group of some 40 foreigners with a common mission to inform the rest of the world what was going on in Spain. To our Spanish colleagues, we were los exóticos, the exotic ones, the translators and broadcasters of Radio Exterior de España, Spain's external radio service operating from Madrid. 8 years later, with an increasing staff and broadcasting in 9 languages, I was at the helm as Director of Foreign Language Broadcasting. The main block of languages was fairly predictable: English, French, German, Russian, Arabic and Portuguese. But thanks to the single-minded dedication of some enlightened individuals, we began weekly broadcasts in Sephardi. Sephardi, or Ladino, is the language of the Spanish Jews who were expelled from Spain under the Inquisition in 1492, 500 years ago, and is still spoken by some 2 million people in communities scattered around the world. Although limited in resources, the message that these programs conveyed was immense, and audience feedback was extraordinary. It was a highly symbolic act of rapprochement and a powerful expression of atonement for something which the Madrid government has described as a historic mistake. With Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, we decided to double our airspace in Arabic. Our focus was to give a fair and impartial message about developments in the Middle East, and our listenership in Arabic increased substantially. We also began broadcasting in Russian and German in response to the dramatic changes taking place in Eastern Europe. This, too, was a way of reaching out to other people and of saying, we are here, we support you, and we're interested in you. And of course, by speaking their languages, we hoped they were interested in us. After all, language is a tool. In fact, it's the only tool by which we humans can communicate, understand, and relate to one another, whether by speaking, writing, over the internet, or across the airwaves, as we were doing then. On my return to Ireland, I worked with a trustee company with large clients in the tourism sector in Western Europe, an industry in which business is done almost entirely in English. However, the ability to communicate with clients in their own language was hugely appreciated. I regularly chaired meetings, which were held in English with conference interpreter facilities. Nevertheless, I adopted the habit of opening proceedings with a few words in several languages. A simple gesture, but one that created an immediate rapport with those sitting there in the room. Such gestures can be small or great. When the Queen visited Ireland in 2014 and opened her speech at the state dinner in Irish with the words, "A uachtaráin agus a cáilte," her words met with spontaneous applause from those present in Dublin Castle. It was a gesture that people found deeply moving. A ripple went around the room and spread throughout the country. It was a symbol of a defining and historically important changing point for British and Irish relations. The power of language is indeed immense, and those of us who speak more than one language find that our knowledge has enriched our lives at all levels, increasing our capacity to appreciate and to understand others. Those who speak a single language may not be aware that translators are more than intermediaries between different language systems. They are also intercultural mediators. Translation is much more complex than replacing source language text with target language text. It involves penetrating the membrane of what is said or written, involving cultural and educational nuances. We've often smiled at the weird and wonderful English on menus and signs for tourists abroad. But poor translations also have the potential for serious misunderstanding. Earlier this year, Google had to explain an embarrassing glitch in its online translation tool from Ukrainian to Russian, which was translating the Russian Federation as Mordor, the fictional evil land of J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. As we all know, similar stories are unfortunately not uncommon. Translating and interpreting very often involves a high degree of expertise and responsibility, something that is unfortunately not always recognised, fully appreciated or understood. Here in Ireland, the ITIA, the Irish Translators and Interpreters Association, a voluntary body, has been looking after the interests of our group of professionals for 30 years and has done much to further our cause. We recognise, however, that much still remains to be done in promoting standards of excellence within the profession. We need to convince clients, be they government bodies, state institutions, legal profession, NGOs, or the business world, of the need for greater discernment in recruitment and contracting, so as to ensure that the people that they engage are professional translators and interpreters with the requisite knowledge and skill set to deliver the high standards demanded by our profession. The work of One Voice for Languages and events such as these in raising awareness of such issues is indeed to be warmly welcomed. Thank you.